Guys, we have a TFL scoop and some breaking news, Andre.
You saw it here first.
It's Friday, which means that there must be news that the manufacturer is not eager to get out, but we are here to let you know that we have dug up something very interesting, and that is the electrified, in other words, the 4xe Gladiator is dead.
No more. We actually have a statement that we got from a knowledgeable source, insider source, that is actually going out to some of the suppliers and partners of Stellantis and Jeep. And there's a sentence here. Actually, there's two very important sentences in the statement.
Yeah, let's see what they say.
So here, I'm actually reading the statement that we got from a pretty verified source.
Verified source.
Trusted. The Jeep brand has already begun reinvesting funding to ensure the long-term growth of the Jeep Gladiator. So the Jeep Gladiator is continuing. And Stellantis is reassessing its product strategy and will no longer include an electrified Gladiator variant in the Jeep lineup.
End of quote.
End of quote.
Yeah, so in this video, we're going to talk about what that means.
Yes.
We're going to talk about perhaps why the company and the brand decided to do away with the electrified Gladiator. And I think a good place to start is let's talk about midsize truck numbers in terms of sales.
So the most recent numbers we have is from second quarter or the first half of 2025. And we have it here on the screen from tfltruck.com, which is our website. And of course, Tacoma is the leader. I mean, they've been leading the midsize segment in the United States for I don't know how many decades.
Yeah, it's the 800-pound gorilla in the midsize truck room.
Yes. So they've sold in the second quarter, or actually the first half of the year, 71,048 Tacomas.
Which is a big number. So
yes,
let's move on. What's next?
Chevy Colorado is number 2 at 26,959. Then Ford Ranger. Ford Ranger has accelerated its sales and it's coming up. Then number 4 on the list is Nissan Frontier at 16,117. Number 5 on the list is Jeep Gladiator with 13,343.
Still a lot.
So that's more sales for Jeep than Honda Ridgeline in the same time or the GMC Canyon.
Now, officially, Andre, Jeep has never confirmed that they were indeed building the 4xe Gladiator, but we confirmed it because we saw the vehicle being tested. There it is, right there.
So actually, this shot is thanks to one of our viewers who was in the high country here, Rocky Mountains of Colorado, and they saw this prototype. And it's very peculiar because it's actually parked in an electrified parking space with an electric charger in front of it. And it has that port on the front right there. You could see the port right there for charging.
Now, for a long time, Jeep decided that they were not basing the Gladiator on the Wrangler, if you remember. They were very certain that it was a separate vehicle, and then that language changed couple of years ago.
I know, and then it changes again, maybe. Who knows?
And now we know for sure that basically the Gladiator is based on the Wrangler. And so it would make sense that if there is a 4xe, in other words, a plug-in hybrid Wrangler, that there should be a 4xe Gladiator. But as we know, Stellantis recently also announced that they're killing the all-electric Ram
1500. Yeah.
And so now they're following up with the killing or the discontinuing of the Gladiator 4xe. Do you think that's smart?
This is quite complex because, first of all, like you said, the Gladiator is basically a Wrangler with a bed because they look the same in the front.
Yeah.
Right? If you look at the cab, the doors, the front clip, the hood, and the front end, they look almost identical. I mean, there's millimeters of change in the grille maybe. But then the rear of the Gladiator, I was talking to the engineers when they first unveiled it, 5 or 6 years ago. It's actually a Ram design. You know, the rear suspension, it's a little bit heavier. It tows more because the downside of a Wrangler...
It doesn't tow.
It doesn't tow very much.
Well, it does tow, but not very much.
Well, it's like 3,500 pounds is all it tows. So the Gladiator was at 7,700 pounds, which is really where the midsize segment is. But whenever you put a plug-in hybrid system into a vehicle, you're adding complexity, weight, batteries, motors. You're just adding a lot of stuff. You're taking away payload also.
Yeah, and the problem is, let's face it, the regular Wrangler 4xe has not had the most stellar reputation for quality.
It had a rough start.
A lot of
let's say.
a lot of customers have had issues with the electrification in the truck. A lot of customers have had issues with there's just been all kinds of issues. So, do you want to bring all that baggage to a Gladiator? The other thing about the Gladiator, which I think would have been smart, is it would have been, I think, the only plug-in hybrid in the midsize segment.
Yeah, because we don't have any other choices for that.
You have a Toyota Tacoma, which is a hybrid, but
regular hybrid,
but not a plug-in hybrid. So it would have given, I think, the Gladiator and the Jeep lineup a little bit of fresh new blood, a little bit of excitement, maybe the wrong kind of excitement in today's world. But let's face it, I think the Gladiator numbers have not been doing all that well in terms of sales, mainly because of two reasons. First, they're expensive. You can get one easily up to the high 70s. I remember driving a Mojave that was, I think, $82,000.
I know that is absurd.
That is a lot of money.
I
for
don't know
a
how that
truck.
happened.
And secondly, I kind of feel like anybody who's wanted a Gladiator, in other words, a topless pickup, has kind of bought it and had it and been there and done that. And maybe there's even a third reason, and that is, if it is, like we now know, based on the Wrangler, pickup trucks have a shorter model span. In other words,
life cycle.
They're refreshed earlier, but the last refresh on the Wrangler took like 10 years before the JL came out. And so
JL came out in 2018, which is also a long time ago.
So now you have a truck that's kind of getting long in the tooth, and I'm not sure if an injection of electrification would have filled the showroom with new customers.
But there could be another injection.
What's that?
It could be a V8.
Yeah,
what about that?
Yeah, with Jeep Hellcating, well, I should say Stellantis.
V8ing everything.
Everything. A 392 would certainly get my blood boiling much more than a 4xe.
And we don't have any statement on this.
No, we don't.
Unfortunately. But once again, for 2026, the Gladiator continues. That was part of the statement we just read.
And I think we can't not talk about the Gladiator without talking about a Dakota, or in other words, a Ram midsize truck. What's happening with that? Or what isn't happening with that might be a better question.
Oh, boy. Well, we also have a story about a Brazilian version of the Ram Dakota. Our producer, Cole, will pull this up here in a second. So, and they said the midsize truck, unnamed, right? So Ram didn't officially name this midsize truck. It's coming to the United States. It may or may not look like this. Here's an image of the Brazilian version of it. The Brazilian version is a little bit shorter wheelbase, a little bit smaller than a midsize truck here in the United States. But nonetheless, they did say with the UAW union, right, that they will be producing the next midsize truck starting in around 2027. So I would say in a year and a half or maybe 2 years from now, we will see a midsize truck from Ram.
So potentially a 4xe Gladiator would have been competition if the Dakota. Now we're really going down a what if road. What if Ram brings a Dakota, and what if
the Dakota is a hybrid?
Yeah, or like the BYD Shark.
Yes,
it's a range extended hybrid. Now we're really going down a pretty speculative road. The other thing that a lot of people have been speculating about, and we know that at least next year this isn't true, but a lot of people are saying that the Gladiator is a one generation only. In other words, there's no plans to have a second generation of the Gladiator. What do you think about that?
I think it's a mistake.
Okay.
I personally speaking, I think there is a lot more life in that concept of a mid-size or even slightly bigger. There's nothing to say that Jeep cannot have a slightly bigger pickup truck that's still kind of topless, because it's important. There's not many vehicles like this. The only other pickup truck where you can remove the top, and maybe have an open air experience is the Hummer EV, right? Hummer EV truck costs at least $100,000. So to have another option would be important. But I think what's also important is to distinguish the Gladiator a little bit more from the Wrangler. Right, maybe give it a different design, maybe a traditional kind of harking back to some of the past.
Well, how about you rebrand a Ram 1500 as a Jeep? How about go the other way? I'm just throwing out all kinds of other stuff. But I'll tell you something that will certainly help. I think we touched upon this. If Jeep sticks a V8, either a Hemi or a big Hemi, into the Gladiator, I think that now you're talking, because now you're looking at a midsize truck, the only midsize truck
with a V8,
in a world of turbo 4s.
Yes.
So I think
Now
that,
we're talking.
I think that will certainly inject some life into the Gladiator. I also think that I don't think there were a lot of people clamoring for a 4xe Gladiator. I think that was also one of those head scratchers.
Yeah, because you need to build what the customer wants, right? Not what you want to build, right? But there's another question. What if the Wrangler 4xe is going away? Do you think it's going away? Well, I've seen something.
Well, I mean, we've seen prototypes at
Yes.
the Easter Jeep Safari of all electric Wranglers. Of course, we were supposed to get an electric Jeep, all electric Jeep. Europe has an all electric Jeep, the
Yes.
Avenger, I
Yes.
believe. I don't know what those plans are, if they're put on hold.
We'll have a little clip. So our producer Cole could play a little clip for us.
Okay.
A little video. This is several days ago. This is very recent.
Oh, you found a 4xe.
Yeah, I found a 4x. Actually, there was also a couple of 6-packs roaming around.
Okay.
So 6-packs Dodge Charger with a 6-cylinder.
Nice work,
But then I
Andre.
also saw this. Look at this. It says premium fuel only. There's a charger port on a prototype Wrangler in the mountains, testing alongside a Grand Cherokee and several other Jeeps. So it even has a little symbol in the front. It kind of says like, "Don't push this vehicle."
Why don't you want to push it?
I don't know.
Okay.
Look, look, they're testing it right now.
I think the Wrangler 4xe is going to continue. They have gone way down that road. I think a lot of people have actually owned them, and even though there have been some issues, I think there's a lot of people who are happy with their 4xes. So it makes perfect sense that the 4xe, at least in the Wrangler, continues. Like I said, I don't think there were a lot of people clamoring for a 4xe Gladiator. It might have been another one of those things that you'd have to start discounting and selling. If Jeep wants to create excitement, build the 392 Gladiator and keep it under 100K. Is that asking
Yeah,
too much?
please keep it reasonable.
I mean, I would love to see it under 80K.
Yeah, make it reasonable.
Or just slam a Hemi into it, a regular 5.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Yeah,
What's wrong with the regular Hemi?
Yeah, you don't have to put the big old one
No.
in there and keep it at 60,000.
That would be wonderful.
And I think you would inject a lot of life into the Gladiator. Anyway, Andre, you saw it here first.
Exactly.
If you want to see more, where should they go?
alltfl.com, because we talk about everything automotive right there.
There you go. I'm like a walking billboard. And guys, thank you for joining us, and we shall see you next time. Ciao.